better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host Sam Dark, and thanks for joining us today in this gathering place for automotive to learn, to share, to have a voice. And today I'm here live with Digital Airstrike from their Ultimate Dealer 20 session. And what a better place to share best practices and automotive best practice gold than in, well, Mexico and in sunshine. That's where we are here today, broadcasting live. More on that in a moment. But first, let's dive into today's automotive headlines. First up today, hot off the CDG buy-sell tracker, Crossroads Automotive Group has expanded its national footprint. We love it. We've got our own jingle. With the acquisition of McLaughlin Ford in Sumter, South Carolina, this marks its first store in the state and bringing its total to 15 Ford dealerships nationwide. The purchase ends nearly 50 years of McLaughlin family ownership at the Sumter location. Crossroads plans to construct a new state-of-the-art facility to enhance sales, service, and customer amenities while continuing operations at the existing site during the transition. What's the big picture here? Well, with over 2,400 new Fords available across its network, Crossroads now operates one of the largest Ford dealers in the country, leveraging its scale for greater inventory, flexibility, purchasing power, and manufacturer incentives that single location dealerships will have a tough time matching. Next up today, credit is flowing a bit easier in September after a brief slowdown in August. This according to DealerTrack, whose credit index edged up to 98.1, showing lenders are starting to open up again. Approval rates held steady at 74.4%, but more subprime buyers are getting approved, now accounting for 14.2% of loans. And loan terms stretching beyond 72 months are becoming more common. Banks led the easing up about 1.6%, while captive lenders pulled back slightly. What's the bottom line here? Well, with credit loosening, especially in used and certified pre-owned deals, dealers are seeing more opportunities, but high rates and longer terms mean every deal still needs to be structured carefully. And finally, up today, trade friction is intensifying on multiple fronts, with both China and Canada taking steps that could reshape supply chains and pricing across the auto industry. In Beijing, officials are holding firm on new rare earth export controls despite U.S. tariff threats. The rules cover not only raw materials, but also any product containing even a trace of rare earth materials, from electric motors to semiconductors, giving China a significant leverage over global auto and EV production. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce criticized Washington's tariff stance as willful, emphasizing that China doesn't seek a trade war, but is not afraid of it. Meanwhile, Canada is moving to reduce dependence on the U.S., developing a new industrial strategy to expand exports to Europe and prioritize domestic procurement. Industry Minister Melanie Joly says the plan aims to fight for every single job in the auto sector as Ottawa negotiates with Trump administration over new trade terms. By broadening its markets, Canada gains more leverage in talks covering auto, steel, aluminum, and energy, though it risks fracturing the tightly integrated North American supply chain that's long kept costs stable. Zooming out from China's tightening control over its critical materials to Canada charting a more independent trade path, it's safe to say the ground is shifting under the auto industry. And that is a wrap on today's news. Coming to you again live from Mexico. For those joining our live stream, we are live across all CDG social media platforms. Post your comments to those platforms. Your questions, your comments, your feedback will help to shape today's show. And what better topic today in Mexico than automotive best practices? We've got quite a show coming up for you today. For example, we'll talk what metric is quickly replacing SEO. What's okay to upload to AI? We've talked about this a lot. What should you stay away from? What are some of those different AI platforms? Do you have an employee code of conduct? Most of us do. But do you have an employee social media policy? Some do. What about an AI policy? We'll talk about that and more on today's episode, coming up again live from Digital Airstrike's Ultimate Automotive 20 Group meeting here in Mexico. Your favorite bald guy posted good morning from Tracy Honda in California. Favorite bald guy, congrats and welcome to the show. We're happy to have you on. We are going to dive straight into our first guest again. Sunny Mexico. We turn to Tony Starkey, Customer Experience Manager at Bob Poynter Family of Dealerships. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, and glad to be here.
I'm glad to.
It's not a backdrop; it's live. So
I can attest to it because it's just upstairs. I'm downstairs for the internet and for all the things. You're upstairs. You've got a breathtaking view overlooking the Pacific Ocean there. And what a forum, what a format, what a place. But let's start with the question we always ask, if it's okay, Tony. By the way, Tony, when I think of Tony Starkey, I think of Iron Man. Do you get that quite a bit, Tony?
all the time.
Okay. No relationship, though. Maybe,
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that you're aware of. All right, very good. Well, tell us this. How's biz? And as part of that, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the dealership.
So, yeah, business actually for us, fortunately, things are really well. They have been for a while. Can't complain with that. We continue to look for more, as any dealership does. But, I mean, all in all, we're doing very well, both in our sales and service department. I have a 26-year background in radio. I've been in the automotive space for 14 years. We have 3 rooftops. We do the Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, CDJR, and then we also have the Ford store. But my main focus is customer experience. And so we have a group of 3 in our dealership group that focus nothing on customer experience and to make sure that we are providing a great experience after the sale. You know, Sam, so many times dealers spend so much time, effort, focus, and money on getting leads and working those leads and getting the sale. Once the sale's done, then the follow-up ends, and that's where it really should start. And again, that's where we take over.
You know, and it's interesting. We talk a lot on here about some of the big national players, right? Carvana and their attempt to, they're coming after some of these franchise dealerships, buying up a couple of Chrysler points, one in the Phoenix area, and then another they're looking to acquire in the Texas area. One way dealers prevent against the spread of larger groups is you defend that customer experience. So, Bob, Tony, you've got a ton of experience with creating customer experience. For a dealer looking to replicate what you're doing and sell more cars and retain more customers as a result of customer experience, what's one thing that a dealer could replicate today in October of 2025 to create a similar experience to what you're doing?
Yeah, great question. I think that's very valid to bring that up. And again, I can't stress enough how important that is. And we have a 2-year follow-up process at our dealership. And I can't really tell you if there's one single most important part of that process. Again, we have 6 or 7 different key points that we send out from the time the vehicle is purchased or even closed RO, again, up until a 2-year mark. But we have a number of different programs and products that we send out. And again, I'm a big believer of little things make big differences. And we send anything out from, send every buyer a Yeti mug with our logo on there. I happen to bring a prop with me. Again, the Yeti mug. You may not seem like much, but it's $23 is what it costs me to send that. When I do my follow-up, I get a tremendous amount of people that respond and appreciate that. Again, it's an impression. Our logo's on there. We're using it every single day. That's just the very first key point that we have. We also send out car washes. We have a car wash that's from Louisville to Indianapolis, and we send out free car washes from our service manager. That's been a real hit for us. We also send out gift cards at a 6-month mark. So we do a number of things, Sam, that generate a good customer experience, and it goes far beyond that. But I mean, you have to, if you're in a dealership that you're not spending time and you're not spending focus on your customer experience, follow up after the sale, you're really missing the boat.
So it's interesting, Tony. Some listening to the show might go, wait, Tony Starkey, experienced manager in automotive, and your title is customer experience manager. You work at Bob Poynter. Who do you report to in the dealership, and how did your job come about? A vet in automotive focused on nothing but that experience. Why did Bob Poynter Family of Dealerships decide to make that investment?
Yeah. So again, mentioned earlier, I have a 26-year experience in radio. And the account was my account as a radio rep. And 14 years ago, they decided that they needed a marketing person. So
Yep.
they approached me, and we come to an agreement. I accept the position. They said, "Here you go. Here's your desk. Good luck and have fun." So that was pretty much the extent of it. So from
Yeah.
then on, I built a marketing team, and I will say that my marketing team is digital airstrike, and I know that I'm here for that, but I'm telling you, if your dealer's watching, that's that we actually treat digital airstrike as an employee, because again, they do the vast majority of our marketing, and they do a very good job at that. But what I do is, again, we realize the importance of customer experience. So I went to the owner and said, "Hey, we need to really come up with some sort of process about customer experience." And he said, "Well, whatever you think you need to do it." And we built a great team, and our process is phenomenal. And our repeat business is second to none. It's 5 times more expensive to gain a new customer than it is to retain the one you have. So it's extremely important to have some sort of process when you follow up both sales and service.
Okay, so you're super intentional about that follow-up process. What does that process look like from day 0 to day 7 after delivery?
So day 1, we actually, once the RO is closed, I actually reach out to the customer, or our team reach out to the service customer just to make sure their experience is positive. We do the same thing on the sales side. We'd like to do that immediately in case there is an issue, that we can catch them before they get the OEM survey. So we send out our own little survey with a 4-question survey.
What are the questions?
What was your experience with your finance, your salesperson? Where did you generate your interest from? What website did you use? And were you completely satisfied with your experience? If the answer is no, we're asking them to reach out, and they do. And that gives me the opportunity to reach out to them prior to an OEM survey and to take care of any issue that they may have. And if you don't ask someone, oftentimes they won't even tell you. And unfortunately, in our society, is something bad happens, you're going to tell 10 people. Something good happens, you're going to tell 1. So
Yeah.
that's our first step. Is as soon as the vehicle is sold, the RO is closed, we're reaching out.
And you said so you and your team, it's not necessarily the salesperson or the service team. Why have a separate team to do that touch? Why not rely on the salespeople or the service folks to do that?
It's a great question, but I mean, it's time consuming. I mean, it's more than what a salesperson can do with our follow-up process. And oftentimes, most salespeople, they may make a phone call, or they may shoot an email, but it takes more than that. So we felt like at our dealership, that's extremely important to have a team put together to do that job. And that's what we've done. So, I mean, it's more, it takes time to do it right. And we do that. And I know our salespeople may reach out and say thank you, but we go far beyond that. And it's been very successful for us. And I've had the program going on about 11 years now.
So it's interesting. In some dealerships, not yours, not mine certainly, but out there somewhere, there are general managers and sales managers that are a little bit concerned about too fast follow-up, right? Because you're going to create remorse, buyer's remorse. Maybe they come in, they want to cancel F&I products. How do you deal with that? If you get somebody that's frustrated, upset in the first 24 hours, 48, 72, what's your process for making sure that customer's satisfied and they have an excellent experience?
And that happens. I mean, I think regardless, you're going to have that happen. I think they appreciate the fact that you're reaching out, and that gives you validity right off the bat, as opposed to no one reaching out. And you just basically ask them what were their concerns, what's their situation, why didn't they like the product, whatever it may be. But a lot of times you can talk through that, as opposed to just a customer. There are times that a customer may want to do away with tire and wheel or a warranty, but it's a rare occasion. But if you talk to the customer, get down to their level, explain to them the value of that, again, outside of the F&I office, they're fine with it.
How many folks do you have on your team, and how many monthly sales are you handling as follow-up? Because this is automated in a digital world, right? There are a lot of groups that are saying, hey, I'm going to hand this all off to AI. You haven't done that. Why not? And what does your team look like? How many units do you handle as follow-up?
Yeah, we have, there's me and 3 others on my team. We're in a very rural town. We're about an hour from Indianapolis, an hour from Louisville, Kentucky, about an hour and a half west of Cincinnati. And we feel like that personal touch, although AI is great, don't get me wrong, and animation is great, but you don't get that personal touch when you actually have a real person calling you and talking to you. It means a lot. And we get so much response from customers saying, thank you for your follow-up. I really appreciate that. And we talk about, again, the automated AI. It's great, but I still think you need that personal touch.
Yeah, it's interesting in automotive how, some of the things that are so simple end up being, manual, intentional reaching out, right? As opposed to doing it. So how many are on your team and how many units do you sell a month there combined?
Well, we have on my customer experience team, we have 3 of us. We have, again, the 3 rooftops. We sell in combination of the 3 stores. We'll move about 360 units a month, and we'll close about 2,200 ROs.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And you handle the sales and the ROs. Have you ever done like a cost analysis of, hey, you've got the expense of your department, people making these calls. How do you look at the ROI on the time and the investment you spend in reaching out and contacting those customers in terms of retention or CSI or anything else?
Yeah, it's a great question. One other program that we do, and I'll lead to your answer, is we send out, I have another prop. I send out it's a $10 gift card, which
Very
seems
cool.
to be very small, but it's no different than an OEM coupon. It's actually our gift card. So we send those out. We send those out the 6-month mark. So what happens is we'll send you a letter. It's basically saying, thank you for your business and maybe time for service. Here's a $10 gift card to use toward the service. I checked before I left. I think that we've had 261 gift cards redeemed, and we've generated about $146,000 in ROs from those gift cards. And people hang on to the gift cards. It doesn't matter if it's servers or accessories and parts, but again, it's something small, but little things make big differences. And just that in itself, we've generated $144,000 in RO revenue.
So you and your team do that. You don't leave that to salespeople to do as part of so do they still do an introduction to service as part of their process with the customer at time of delivery, or do you handle that exclusively?
They do that. Again, since I'm huge on customer experience, I think they kind of failed that area. To be open and honest, I think that's important they do that. But we don't do a great job of that.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I love about what you're doing is you're taking a process that could be in sales, it could be in service, but is tough to nail consistently in automotive, but every customer deserves, right? And you're ensuring you've got some redundancy through your department. And you said $146,000 in ROs generated, right? Or it's customer service. That's significant.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's really, we have but we do other things. I mean, it's not just customer experience, but that's my main job. And my team does some other things, but I mean, it's definitely worth the annual salary for those employees for what we do. But yeah, that just touches on one thing that we do. I mean, we send out a lot of letters from the service department, but we see the residual coming back and just the feedback we get from our clients and our customers on their appreciation for what we're doing that many other dealers are not doing. And I can't stress enough how important follow-up after sale and service is to your dealership.
So it's interesting. I think a lot of dealers listening to you today, they're thinking about, hey, during COVID, there was a little bit less UIO units in operation. Some of the OEMs sold less new cars. So retention is everything, right? So what are you doing after, let's say, 12, 24 months to make sure that those customers come back in? We saw the coupon. That's great. Is there anything else you're doing longer term to ensure retention?
And we probably should, and maybe something I implement. I mean, we're after the 2-year mark that we're actually, that's kind of the last touch point that I have. We have some automated stuff that go out after that. But again, I'm not a big proponent of automated emails. Those do go out, but again, we stop at the 24-month mark as far as what I handle. And again, the automation may continue on after that.
So, Tony, do you get into and by the way, Igor K says, good salesmen show their customer service department and set the customer with the service advisor for all future services. Also introduce the customer with parts and sales manager on a TO. By the way, I agree 100% with that. Great salespeople do that. But Tony, part of the power in what you're doing is you're a check and a balance against that. And it probably helps encourage salespeople to be more thorough, so it's not a surprise. Yoga Car says some of those service customers would come back for service anyway. Total RO revenue is not 100% due to gift cards. Plays a role, but it is difficult to measure. I agree with that. Well, how would you respond to that, Tony? When you go spike the ball, I asked you to do it, so you gave me the number. What would you say to, hey, you can't count every dollar as plus because some of those customers would have been back anyway?
I mean, again, that's a great question, but I mean, I still think that anything in life,
Yeah.
whether you're at fast food or whether in automotive, it's about your customer experience. So we know if we're providing a great customer experience, both pre-sale and post-sale, that we've done everything we can possibly do to gain the trust of that customer. So, again, we see the return customer or three-generation customers. Again, we're in a very rural town, but, we've sold last year, we sold cars in 36 different states.
Yeah.
So it's not just, our little farming community where we sell cars at. We compete with all metro dealers, although we're in a very rural area. But I think a lot of it is the way we do our process on the front end and our follow-up on the back end. And I just don't think there's a better process out there from any dealer. I could be wrong, but that's the way I feel about it.
So, Tony, final question. Mentorship is super important in the world. It's interesting. May 27th, 2026 is an important date to you. What on earth happens on May 27th, 2026, which is, it's 6 months or so from now, 7, 8 months.
It's coming soon. Now, actually, it'll be a year from that. 5/27/27, I'm actually going to retire from full-time position. I like what I do, but, I'm the age now where, you never know what life brings the next day. So I've got options. I'm a real estate broker and I do auctioneering and I still may continue to stay on. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Digital Airstrike is basically an employee of us because they handle vast majority of our marketing. So I still may be able to hang on and with the customer experience part of it, still work with Digital Airstrike. So I'll retire from a full-time position, but I'm going to go part-time and I'm super excited.
That's awesome. Tony Starkey, Customer Experience Manager at Bob Poynter, family of dealerships. Thanks for being on the show and sharing your perspectives. We appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Go enjoy the warm weather out there. It is interesting in automotive how, again, some of the most key crucial things we do are kind of manual touch point direct to the consumer. And there's significant value in that. And I like, I'm seeing a lot of the comments online from our audience reminding, hey, salespeople should be doing this. Service departments should be doing this. And I agree 100%. And I also think there is huge value to having a check and a balance behind it. When you send the message to sales and service that, hey, this is so important, we're willing to have a separate department, they're going to make calls in addition. As a sales consultant, I want to make sure, I'm going to check myself to make sure I follow that process so that when that call comes, the customer is well aware. And look, it's all about connecting and creating an ultimate experience for every single customer, going a little bit above and beyond that separates, your dealership, wherever you are across the United States, from some of the largest dealer groups out there that may not have resources or ability to deliver that personally. So, all right, let's go to our next guest. Actually, you know what? Let's do let's talk Repair 360 first. We love Repair 360 reconditioning software, the dealership's secret weapon, the platform that connects the dots to help you sell more cars. Go to repair360.com to learn more. You can also scan the QR code there. We appreciate Repair 360 for supporting the show today. You can go to the link also in the show notes if you're listening to the re-record of today's episode on all the podcast platforms, or if you're watching it on YouTube, you can scan the QR code. You're watching it live, you can scan as well. Eager K, thanks for saying good salesman can get 1 to 2 deals from service if that salesman has a good relationship with the advisor. Making friends with the advisor is critical to sales department and salespeople. Agreed 100% with that. So, all right, let's turn back here to Mexico. Alexi Venneri, co-founder, CEO, DAS Technology. Alexi, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sam. How are you? It's been so long since I've seen you.
It's been at least 30 minutes. And thank you for hosting here in this beautiful place. You've got quite the setting behind you. And actually, before I ask the question of how's biz, why does a company like DAS bring dealers into a spot like this? Like, it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful forum. There's a ton to do. What's the thought process with that?
Sure. Well, I've been in the automotive industry a very, very long time. And I was very fortunate to work at some great companies. He was calling Dealer Truck. I worked with Larry Van Tile at the Van Tile Group.
Yes, you
and,
did.
I saw the value of 20 groups, right?
Yeah.
We do have, for the most part, a remote account management model. And I just always wanted to get to know our clients, our dealers. And often even if you do visit them in the stores, as you guys all know, you're so busy.
Yeah.
And you're distracted. And I really personally, as well as our team, really wanted time with our clients or dealers to learn about their challenges, find new ways we could help them, build new technologies. So it's sort of an advisory board with a product focus group, but ultimately, and we do call it the Ultimate 20 group, it's a chance for our dealers that attend to network with each other. They're in non-competitive markets and really spend some dedicated time just sharing best practices. So it is amazing. We do try to find the most amazing, incredible resorts because we know how valuable their time is. And it's worked out. This is our 8th one we've done over the past, it's about 5 years.
Yeah. And you can only invite a certain number of dealers to an event like this. So we're going to talk at the end of our time together about a way that those that may want the experience or at least get some of the insights, they can go to a website. They can actually watch some of the best practices that are shared. Because to your point, I've seen it, and I've seen it throughout my career when you've got 4 or 5 different dealers standing side by side. Things happen, right? Conversations happen where they're like, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to implement it. I'm going to go do that. And as long as they've got that commitment to execution, they can actually turn that idea into dollars vis-a-vis the execution. So, all right, how's biz, Alexi? And then as part of that, tell us a little bit about who you are and your role at DOS Technology.
Sure, thank you. Business is great in a way that I know this has been kind of a hard year for everybody. I'm having flashbacks to the Great Recession, which is when we started.
Don't say that. No, I'm kidding.
I know, but COVID, but I have a,
Yeah.
but I feel like we're getting through it.
Yes.
Anytime there's economic uncertainty, whatever it is, consumers kind of pull back. Maybe they hold on that car a little longer. Maybe they think they don't need that repair. So we've seen that, but I feel like it's getting better. Interest rates coming down. Let's hope they come down more. It certainly helps. So we work with thousands of dealers nationwide, and we are fortunate to hear from them. And then, adjust strategies and leverage our technology in different ways to help them know what the economy is doing, still make money, right? Are we, we're hearing that, consumers maybe want more pre-owned, or maybe they're servicing a few more times before they buy. So we're happy to work with them. And we all know you learn the most during tougher times than when things are easy. So I'm excited, and we've really had a good year. And I do think our dealers are excited about the future.
All right, you've built this DOS technology into one of the more recognized names in automotive tech. What sparked the idea for its formation for you?
Thanks for asking. I had worked at tech companies as I mentioned before, and I was lucky to be approached.
So we're going to get that. There you go.
Was interesting because, really getting the data, having all brands, a lot of markets across the country. It was interesting to just see what was happening. And again, this was, I was doing that well before I started DAS, and it became Digital Airstrike. But at the time, I saw what was going on with social media. And for the first time, if a consumer had a problem with you or any business, it wasn't just, between you and the store and a few people they would tell. They would broadcast it online, and it became a negative billboard. So I wanted to build technology to help our dealers harness the value of that billboard in social media. And so the recession hit, and again, dealers didn't maybe want to spend a lot of money. So we found ways to leverage technology to engage with consumers and not just run around and spend a lot on media buys. So that's where it started. And I think really working for a large dealership group and with those dealers gave me like a PhD and truly understanding how to be a partner to our dealers and not just a vendor. So it started there. And then we really wanted to build a platform and a process for excellent, customer experience that wasn't just, you had to switch a tool or change the technology. So we want to be Switzerland and Intel inside. We'll work with all the dealers on all the existing vendors and tools they have, and just find ways to make them work better and harder for not just the dealer, but really so those consumers have a better experience.
Yeah, in fact, you've given insight. So there's a couple of things that are going through my mind. You gave some great insight. You kind of were early onto the social media scene, and you leveraged the opportunity early. Low cost, high impact, right? You were able to, and one of the things you now are able to do, we ask everybody on the show today, we say, who's your best digital lead provider? when you look at all the different providers, who provides the best converting leads? And you've actually got some technology that enables a dealer to very quickly say, I know the answer to that, and I can say that, and therefore I can better put my money into the places where it spends. What is that technology, and how does that work?
Sure. Well, as a lifelong marketer myself, everybody is going to, they're getting you great results. There'll be a report or a certain way they look at the data. But at the end of the day, you really need to understand that for yourself. And it is different for different markets and different dealers and different brands. What we've done, which is interesting, is we actually integrate with all lead providers and the dealer's CRM and the DMS. And we treat all leads, we assume they're equal. But then we use data and AI to target each consumer with very specific communication that is relevant for them. So Sam, you still have a 2022, Land Rover, and you're thinking about trading it in, or should you just service it again? And your message is going to be very different than, let's say, Jane, in another part of the city, that she did just buy a car, but there's maybe a recall. And you don't want to message her till parts are in stock. So whatever it is, and maybe she's messaging. So whatever, the consumer and the data that we can pull together, we will send them very specific messages. So chances are, hopefully, if they're a legitimate prospect and lead, they will respond. And by doing that, we actually see in real time who's engaging with the leads the dealers are getting. And we have a report that will tell the dealers, yes, this lead source sent you 300 leads last month. But did you know only 12% did anything when we reached out? So it takes away the subjectivity of the salesperson that maybe said, oh, that was a bogus lead, but did the salesperson really follow up, right? So they can still do that. We still want those wonderful people in your stores following up, but we kind of are very objective in it. And then that's a real-time report our dealers can look at. And then we take it all the way through to show, closed ROs and sales. Now, there might be multiple leads that could take some credit for that, or touch points, but it really levels the playing field. And we usually say to our dealers, hey, we want to assume that you've picked great vendors to help you drive traffic. Let's nurture all the leads. And then maybe you want to adjust how much you spend in each category and continually work harder partnering with all your other vendors to get you the best results.
So as a big company, do you have a perspective on who the most productive digital leads are nationwide in automotive? Dare you say this? Dare you speak the name of the company?
Well, again,
As Switzerland?
it really depends on. We're Switzerland. We will tell the dealers. I mean, we become this consultant and partner. And sometimes it might be the messages, right? If you don't have a way to test different messages to target those leads, you might get different results. But that's why, what we do, I get excited because, again, as a lifelong marketer, it was always a little nerve-wracking just to rely on your sales team to follow up. Yes, let them follow up, but we're that insurance policy that continues to nurture. And we do know when a salesperson follows up, and we do know when a consumer is even looking at something we sent them. And then we'll message that salesperson. We want them part of the process. We want them to pick up the phone and call. But it really, I think, frees up your sales team to do what they usually do best, which is that belly to belly, person to person or on the phone communication, test drives, and we free them up so they're not so chained to the desk, right? And they also get really cool insights. We want them to know that a consumer clicked on this message about this particular vehicle. Maybe they started as a new car lead and now they're pre-owned, right? Did they do some financing, payment calculations? The salesperson might want to know that. So there's a lot of really helpful information that I actually think we help all the lead providers, more of them close. Because there might be a great lead in there that someone doesn't follow up on, and do you really know when that happens as the GM or head of the BDC?
So you provide dealers with that transparency and that kind of peek behind the curtains of knowing exactly what's going on, where to invest money better. You use a lot of technology, AI driven, some of it. You've been on social for a long time. You're coming into this AI driven world. There's a message you delivered today that I thought was super fascinating. Most dealers have a social media or have an employee code of conduct, right? There's a policy that most dealers are missing. Tell us, what are they missing, and why is it important to relook at this?
Well, I've learned it's two policies. Back in the day, one of the things we started with is just helping every one of our dealers We didn't charge them. We would help them with a social media policy. Because, again, back in the day when we started, there weren't even business pages. There were no social ads. But we would find sort of rogue salespeople sometimes. They're aggressive and they would steal the dealership's name and create their own pages or try to take leads going right to their cell phone, which weren't traceable. So we still have today a social media policy. If anybody wants it, let us know. You can go to the Ultimate 20 group. That's one of the best practices we're sharing. No cost. We're not selling that. But that's where it started. And now today what I'm finding is dealers don't know about having an AI policy. So
That's
this
crazy.
is not,
We've never heard this before on the show. An AI policy.
yes, please. And this is not something we're selling. We do it for ourselves at DAS Technology Digital Airstrike. So
Okay.
what's happening now with AI, you probably have this. You've got some creative people that are using AI maybe in their personal life, ChatGPT, and they've
Sora,
maybe found
video
ways to,
generating. Yeah.
yeah, they found some cool ways to help their job be easier using it. You want to control that for compliance, security, but also so you get the benefit of scale. So be great to get your employees together, see who's using it. You got to monitor it. You probably need a way that they can't just download. There's a lot of different apps and tools today that have free trials. You don't want them just putting that on your work computers and on your network. And the biggest tip I can tell you that has to be in the policy, we've built for our own company an interface. It's called a single pane, where when we choose to use any sort of enterprise is the keyword, AI tools, we keep all of our dealers' data, your customers' data on our cloud network. We're not just uploading it into whatever free, AI tool or app, even ChatGPT, Perplexity, any of those, because suddenly you've now allowed your data and your customers' data to be on a public network. And as you know, you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's some things in that policy that we can certainly help the dealers with. And it's also just education and training. Reminds me so much of social media when it first was, getting going.
So your advice to dealers is implement an AI policy. And as part of that, you've got to clarify you cannot upload NPPI, non-public personal information, customer data, financial data, because there is a risk. Are there stories of that data, how it could get out there, or precautionary? Or I mean, it's such a new frontier, Alexi.
There is. We're actually, a lot of the vendors we're working with, we're helping them, or we've seen them create these policies. I don't know, and I don't want to broadcast this to some class action lawsuit lawyers, attorneys out there, but we've seen it in other, there's state-specific rules. You got to really be careful. Plus, that is your data. I'm a huge fan and always been a huge proponent of our dealers' data is their data, right? And they should use it for their benefit. Same thing. You don't want an employee somehow using some tool and taking all your leads and going to work for the dealer down the street. So there's a lot of things we just education-wise want to help, the industry. The other thing we've done too is in our product, we've got some very cool ways we've now integrated AI to help with that one-to-one messaging. But again, every dealer has to approve it, right? The OEMs, we work with all the OEMs. We're very transparent. We've created some really cool things that we do, but we're very open about it one-to-one with our OEMs, our partners, our dealers around exactly how it works, and they can set preferences. We don't want AI gone wild. And but we want to use it because there's so many amazing ways you can use it now to get a lot more engagement and sales, Yeah.
All right. So let's step back from AI and tech and whatnot and look, are there metrics that every general manager watching, every dealer watching thinks about, hey, how do I best spend dollars on marketing? How do I best spend dollars to get those leads? What are the most important metrics that every GM or dealer or marketing director should be looking at monthly to make smarter decisions about vendors and dollar ad spend?
Well, I usually, when I talk to our dealers, I first want to look at engagement on the leads. And it's also just data in your database, right? Inbound leads, fresh prospects, great, but also who do you have in your database? Either CRM that maybe didn't close, or in your DMS. And we like to do identity resolution on that data first. We like to take it and clean it up for dealers. I've got a story. One of our awesome dealers, talked to me about, just by us doing that, they still send service mailers that work for them, but he was able to save $16,000 a month just in not sending out duplicate mailings. Because however, these other vendors that were doing postcards or whatnot, they were just grabbing all the data and sending it, right? They actually make more money when you send more, and it wasn't worth it. By also cleaning up your data, again, whether or not you work with an outside vendor, us or anyone else, maybe more of the messaging you need to send, and you should target different groups based on that. And that way, every dollar you're spending, you'll just go further. You'll get more results. But what we do in our tool is we allow the dealers to put in the budget. And once we know we've got a way to engage with the humans, whether they're existing customers, old leads, new leads, then we like to put that budget number in there and look at that engagement. And then we just work with the dealers. And full transparency, we do have an awareness side of our business where we can drive leads too. We have our data in there too. We're not always maybe number one. Maybe we're the third best source that converts on the actual, programs we're running maybe on social media or streaming.
So last up question here. You're talking a little bit about a CDP, right? Cleansing data, putting it into a CDP, short-term, longer-term, a data lake. What percent of dealers, if you had to venture a guess based on everybody you work with, what percentage of dealers have done that CDP data cleansing?
Such a good question. The clarifier I would add to that is they might be paying someone to have access to a CDP, but most of the ones out there, it requires someone in the dealership doing something, going in, running the campaign, someone that's well-versed to do some of that cleansing of the data. A lot of dealers that have a CDP don't do that. So from day one, we'll do it for the dealers. We have to go in and do it. We'll share with you strategies. We'll work together on campaigns. But even if you don't ever log in, we want to do it for you because we do have the experience and we do work with thousands of dealers. So I would say conservatively, maybe about 20% of dealers might have a tool. If they're left to have to run it themselves, it's not getting used. It's not getting used properly. You're your own little silo, your island. You really need people that will help you with that. So we're not just tech, we're a team. Our team is very passionate about helping the dealers get results.
But even as you do that, it's still the dealer's data in that CDP, right? They still own that.
100%.
They still have access to it. You're just hoping to keep it clean, keep it updated, all that stuff. Well,
yep. And they can go in any time. We find they just don't. So we're like, that's great. We're protecting it. It's your baby. We'll make sure we're working with that data to get you results.
Well, Alexi Venneri, CEO, DOS Technology, and co-founder. Thanks for sharing an incredible experience here south of the border. Everybody will notice we've had a few laughs online about Mexico Wi-Fi, and that might be part of your strategy. It's like you get dealers a little bit disconnected, and then you can actually share things without a lot of cell phone interruptions. I don't know if there's anything into that, but very cool experience, and it's a beautiful place behind you and a great setting. So thanks for hosting the experience and for sharing these best practices and making these dealers available to us today. Alexi.
Thank you.
On the show. All right, everybody. So we get a ton of requests to join the Daily Dealer Live. We're taking all those requests into one place. So if you're a dealer, if you've got an idea, an opinion, a best practice that you'd love to share with the world. And by the way, it's interesting because in places like this, we'll get people saying, well, why on earth do you share your best practices? In automotive, we know best practices are about execution. It's not about knowing, it's about doing. And you can share those best practices, see how they fare out in the world, and see who makes them even better by going to cdgguest.com, fill out our intake form to be considered for a future guest spot. Your being on this show makes this show better, just as the dealers we're seeing here this week at DOS Technologies Ultimate 20 Group here in Mexico do the exact same. And then final note, Car Dealership Guy is back with our second annual NADA party happening in Las Vegas. It is on Thursday, February 5th. It's the hottest ticket at NADA with special guests and automotive personalities. To be considered for a formal invite, just hit the link in the show notes, request to join and fill out a questionnaire. NADA is also a great gathering place for automotive best practices. And I'm actually learning that it's DOS Technology that has some pretty cool parties. Should have asked Alexi what theirs is this year, but they always provide a ton of value back to dealers. And also at the end of today's show, in the show notes, you can go to that 20 group best practice session link. It'll be in the show note from DAS Technologies, and you can see the videos from some of those best practices here in Mexico. So up next today, let's turn to General Manager Northcutt Chevrolet, Chris Rudder. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, how are you enjoying sunny Mexico? Actually, I guess it's been a little rainy here lately, but
We'll take what we can get. I will tell you,
Yeah.
I told people at work, I said, I'm going to go do a little bit of business and a lot of bit of pleasure. So far,
Yeah.
so good.
And guess what? You've been outed because you're live streaming right now, so everybody knows exactly where you are, exactly what you're doing, and
We'll pay
they're
the
gonna
price
be-
when we get back.
That's right. They're going to know exactly what when you come back. There'll be some cool ideas that will be put to use. So first off, let's do this. How's biz? And as part of the answer, give us a little bit of background, Chris, on you and what you do.
Yeah, so for sure, the patented answer, we're never happy in the car business. We always want more. So it's good.
Yeah.
We've seen the trend in our dealership at least switch from we're a 60% new, 40% used. Now it's 60% used, 40% new. So again, our goal is to stay ahead of the trend and just make sure we're ahead of that curve. And so far, so good. So about me personally, I will tell you, I'm kind of unique to the car business. 11 years in the car business. Before that, middle school math teacher, high school athletic director, middle school principal. So everybody's like, well, why'd you get in the car business? Well, I was going to sell cars until something better came along, and I'm still waiting to find that.
And you haven't yet, right? So yeah.
Haven't? No. And I don't have a 1-year plan like Tony you had earlier, but I've got a 9-year plan. So I tell my owner all the time, 9 more years. So everything I decide on is a 9-year decision.
Yeah. So tell us this: what channels are actually paying off for you right now for acquiring first-time customers?
Yeah, and
what's your
that's
best
an
channel?
important question because we live in rural Oklahoma, so don't have an unlimited pool of customers. So not only take care of the ones we got, but hopefully get their friends and their family. So and I think it's a combination. Again, I think lead sources are great, and we rely heavily on digital airstrike for a lot of our stuff. But I think it's the customer experience as well. We talk all the time about red carpet experience. I tell my sales guys and my managers, if people wouldn't go to Starbucks if it was just about the price of coffee. They go for the experience. You can all have coffee at home, but we go to Starbucks because it's a great experience. Do you want to go through the Chick-fil-A drive-through, or you want to go through Taco Bell's drive-through? Taco Bell, you hope you get your order right. Chick-fil-A, they say my pleasure.
They
and
get it right.
It's a great experience. So I just think that's key to not only selling people cars once or serving their car once, but continuing to do so.
So let's talk about that before we go into a little bit of lead generation. What's one thing that you're doing right now, October of 2025, to separate yourself from the rest of the industry in the experience front? What's one thing others could, when we talk about execution is everything, seek to replicate?
Yeah, I think follow-up is a big key to that. So we spend a lot of time on, as part of that customer experience follow-up, It drives me crazy. I was telling the story earlier when a customer walks in and says, I bought a car 3 years ago, but I forgot who I bought it from, so I'll just work with you. That salesperson should get fired on the spot. At least call them on their birthday. At least call them and say, hey, have birthday chicken in you, but a whole lot more than that. And the good guys do that. Our good salespeople, we've got a car wash. Say, bring it anytime. I'll wash your car for you. Not only do they get their car washed, but they have a conversation while they're driving that customer through the car wash and check and see how things are going. How's your family? How's things going? Oh, you got a sister who's looking for a car. Would be happy to help her. Some of those kind of things that, again, those one-to-one conversations, those personal interactions have to happen for that to be a great customer experience.
So Chris, why, if it works, and why, if it helps a salesperson sell more cars, why is it so tough to get consistency in replicating that process over and over again? You say...
Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's true. Customers will walk through the door. They're like, hey, I bought a car here a few years ago. I have no idea who I worked with. I'm here for my next car. Why is it so tough to get that connection part down?
Well, and again, I think we've got some very good sales guys that have it down pat. And again, that's why they're selling 20 cars a month and have been with us for a long time. I think sometimes the new sales guys just get into a habit of they want to sell so many cars. They don't do the simple things to sell cars down the road. I want to sell a car today and then sell another one. Take 15 more minutes to, again, make sure that delivery experience is great. Take that customer out to service, make sure they had a good time. And then the 1-day call, the 7-day call, the 6-month call. know when they're coming in service. We have great tools that tell you when your customers are in service or coming to the store. Go out and say hello to them. That will benefit you selling cars down the road a whole lot better than just standing outside hoping somebody pulls in the lot.
So what are some of the best technology solutions that you're using to help reinforce that behavior? The system is the solution, right? And if you want to make something repetitive, you want to have that consistent connection and contact, you've got to systemize it.
Yeah, two tools we use from Digital Airstrike. One is our response logic. So the second a person puts a lead in, no matter where that lead comes from, they're getting a message from us. Thanks for choosing Northcutt Auto Group. We look forward to helping you. And then when the salesperson, I don't have a BDC department, we're small enough not to have one. When the salesperson has time, they can then take that lead over and respond. But we know they have to get responded to in the first 5 minutes to be successful and to try and capture that lead. The other one is the CDXP. It's doing the work for us behind the scenes. It knows who has equity. It knows who's coming into service. It knows who's got a recall. It knows who declined services. So when that happens, again, our customers feel like we're the one reaching out to them, and we are. But again, that's some of those tools that we use that really help us do our job better.
So that gives me two questions, and I'll come back to the BDC in just a minute. So you mentioned CDXP. Is that their kind of branded version or variant of the CDP? Did you cleanse your data recently? How long did that process take, and what's been the net benefit of that?
So we've been doing that now for a couple of years with them, a great process. And so again, they know who our customers are, what they're doing in our store, and how we can help them. So, and again, the system does that for you. So if we're just doing our job and saying, we want to make sure we're reaching out to customers that decline to service. We want to make sure that we know some customers got a recall. They feel like we're, again, taking care of them, providing that great customer experience.
So as you went through that process, and again, Alexi mentioned only 20% of dealers probably have, what was some of the most errant or incorrect data that surprised you that existed in your current DMS, CRM?
That was the problem. Current DMS and CRM, we use Vin Solutions and we use Reynolds and Reynolds. They don't like each other and they don't talk very well together. So every time we put a customer came into service, a new lead got generated in the system. So if you're a business in my town, all of a sudden you were in there 20 times. You know what I mean? So are we marketing to that business 20 times or a customer, or the phone numbers didn't match, or the emails didn't match, or the middle name wasn't right. So that sure helped us clean that up. And again, be more cost effective. So when we do market, we're marketing once and not 20 times with somebody. But two, it also makes sure if I'm a customer and I get an email 20 times, I'm like, what's the matter with those guys? What are they doing?
Yeah. So as you clean that up, Chris, you mentioned your CRM and your DMS providers. Is that clean version of the information, is it bidirectional? Does it still sit in your CRM, DMS cleaned and updated, or is it in a separate device reservoir?
Yeah, it's cleaned up, but we're starting to see some of those same things ripple. So I think the best way for us is to make sure that those two are in sync. So we're in the process, honestly, of changing our CRM to make sure it is a clean sync. And when there is a change of a phone number or a change in finance or a change somewhere, it is immediate in the system because those two will talk to each other together.
So having it clean and having it going back and forth, like, are you able to kind of quantify a financial impact or a CSI impact? You mentioned, customers get frustrated being contacted multiple times with multiple messages that are incongruent, right? That just don't match. Like, how do you think about ROI in that? Like, dollars spent on that activity. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's hard to really think about dollars. All I know is this. I know, again, my best ROI is selling cars and have customers come back to service. So if part of that great experience is that they take care of me, they know me, they want me to do business there, that's the ROI I want.
Yeah. Interesting. So when you think about speed to lead, so you mentioned that you don't have a BDC. I'd be curious why, because some groups do. There's definitely two ways of thinking in there. Why not a BDC? Why do you have the salespeople do it? And then is there a speed to lead target? And how do you hold your team to it for whoever's responding to those leads first?
Yeah, so speed to lead for us is 15 minutes. It should never take more than 15 minutes for one of our salespeople to contact you. We round robin the leads, but as a manager, if you see somebody is off work that day or unavailable and didn't do that to CRM, we switch it. Or again, we're small enough that the general sales manager, myself, will reach out to a customer. I'm never afraid to make that first contact, whether it be text, make a phone call. Because again, we want that customer. We know if it's not that first 15 minutes, we're not going to get them. So no BDC, I will tell you. We've tried it. We've had one. We've had a third party BDC. I just want my experts. I want my experts who are my sales guys in the process the entire time. We don't have we will always have a receptionist for the same reason as well. I want a real person during our hours of operation talking to our customers.
I agree with that, by the way. So we've had several guests on here. In fact, Glenn Lundy, I think it was, said, hey, BDC should be frontline sales. So however you label them, you still want them customer facing, tip of the spear, very well trained. So for larger dealerships, if you need to have a BDC, they've got to be brought in as part of the sales team. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And again, we're not big, so we don't have those big dealer problems. But I'm taking advantage of that and let my salespeople be the experts that take the leads and run with them.
So when you think about getting engagement on that, as you're sending messages out to your customers, what's the first reply that wins the most? When you think about texting, phone, email, and what does the message say to get that engagement? Do you have a secret sauce to engagement?
Yeah, I think text has to be the first message because, again, when my phone goes off, like into my pocket 3 seconds ago, I want to see who's calling me, who's texting me. My emails I check at night when I am, some downtime, whatever. So there could be 100 in my email box. I'll check that when I have time. But a text just seems to have a little more urgency, and I want to know who's getting a hold of me. But don't miss the phone call. I think face-to-face is the best. Our sales success is so much better face-to-face. But again, we got to get those customers there. But send that text, let them know that you're interested, but follow up with the phone call. Email, I could take or leave, to be honest with you.
Okay. So how do your sales team, how do they qualify intent fast without scaring shoppers off? Is there a few questions that you ask? Is there a way that you engage?
Yeah, and I think part of that is that welcome message. Thanks for contacting us. We sure look forward to helping you. Part of that red carpet service. We want this to be the best car buying experience you've ever had, or the best service experience you've ever had, and look forward to not rushing you, letting you decide in your own time, but making that a good experience.
Yeah. Well, Chris Rudder, General Manager, Northcutt Chevrolet, absolute pleasure having you on the show today, sharing your perspectives and best practices for upping your game and delivering that ultimate experience to every single customer. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I don't know, I don't know if this is fit to print, but I got a text from the team here. They as to their NADA party, so I'm going to say it because it's in the text message. We rented Allegiant Stadium, so I guess that's what they're doing. Zip lines. I don't know who the heck DJ Jazzy Jeff is. Actually, I'm kidding. I lie. I actually know exactly who is because I grew up in the 90s, and everybody that knew the 90s knows that. So if this is fit to air and it's not a industry secret, there you go. If it is, everybody knows it by now. So, but what a show. We appreciate everybody for being on, and the team at DAS for hosting this forum. Again, there'll be links in the show notes if you want to go back and check out the best practices that come out of the session over the few days that this team is out here in Mexico. And to you, our Daily Deal Live audience, we appreciate you joining the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in particular, all the comments. So Yoga Car says, Nelly party in Vegas was great. Eager K says, BDC departments sometimes out of touch with customers because they don't work deal. Best people to be doing follow-up should be the sales manager and salesman who actually work the deal. I agree with that. And he also says customer follow-up has to be consistent but not a nuisance. And I think that's what some of the best have solved for, is making a more consistent process. And there's some great technology and teams out there that help it. So we appreciate you joining us today on this Monday, October 13th. Don't forget, we're live here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if this is your world, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never, ever miss a beat. And we'll see you next episode, everybody. From Mexico, thanks for being here.